I am here with Tabitha, and she is amazing. She does social media management and social media marketing, and she's kind of like a social media guru. And I'm really excited, like I said, to have her on. But I'm going to let her kind of introduce a little bit more about her and her background. If you have any questions, it looks like I can answer them. It populates like a Facebook Live. If you're catching this on the audio podcast, that's me trialing out the Facebook Live with Zoom feature. But like I said, if you have any questions, let us know. But again, we're talking about social media marketing. So Tabitha, tell us a little bit more about you.
So I am the eldest of a pastoral family and went to Moody Bible Institute for my college. And one of the cool things about Moody is it has a communications degree, and so I learned a little bit of writing, a little bit of radio, and then I was like, oh, what are they doing over there? And so I did video and design and photography and everything. And when I graduated, I'm like, there has to be a job where I can use all of these forms of media in one place. And the internet was still in its pretty infancy. The .com bubble had just started. And I worked for a graphics firm, and I was like, this is cool. I get to do all the Photoshop stuff that I love, but I don't get to write anymore, so I want to write. And I found an internship doing social media before we called it social media, doing stuff on MySpace and Friendster. And I was like, this is cool. I like this. And so I moved from Chicago back to LA, and I said, this has to be a job, right, where people are doing this. So I found one of the very first PR firms that was actually creating a social media department, and Twitter had just started, and they were like trying to figure out how to get brands on Twitter. So I joined them and have been crazy into social media ever since. So when I was working with them, we actually did social media marketing for will.i.am's Yes We Can video for the 2008 election. Wow. And then worked for Joe's Jeans. They wanted to reach another audience. So they were a fashion jean, but they were really comfortable. So they wanted to reach kind of the mommy bloggers with the first incarnation of that. So I worked on that. I kept going, and I'm a huge nerd. So I really love the entertainment world. And I lived in LA. So I worked for a YouTube company. I worked for one of the kind of like a Netflix kind of company that did one for nerds and geeks. And then eventually Fox TV shows wanted me to come because I was really good at building niche audiences. So I worked for Fox for a couple of months, and then got engaged and moved to Baltimore. So now I live in Baltimore, and I just started my own business doing social media after 12 years of doing it on my own for different companies.
Wow. So you've been obviously doing this for a while, but you kind of like we're using you've like seen all the different reincarnations of the platforms and the shifts and everything. That's really incredible.
Yeah, it's funny because, obviously with the Cambridge data breach, a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, what if Facebook dies? I'm like, it's okay, guys. We've done this before. MySpace died. We all lived.
Yes, I know. Wow. And I remember them saying like brands were like, oh, well, social media is just going to be a fad, and the delay in getting on board. And now it's such a huge aspect of business.
Yeah. It's amazing because brands are more and more spending money on social media ads versus traditional advertising. So obviously it's like these people who poo-pooed the idea years ago are like, okay, fine, we'll give you our thousands of dollars social media.
Yes, I think any major business is on social media in one way, shape, or form. I think there's a few smaller businesses that can still get away with it, like the local, but for the most part, they still need to have some online presence, I think.
Yeah, and I think the worst thing you can do is have some online presence and then stop, because more and more people are using social media as a search tool. And my son does. He's 8. He doesn't go to Google, and he goes to YouTube and he searches. So if he is looking up a restaurant and sees that they haven't posted anything since 2015, he's going to think that they're dead, that they're not there anymore.
So he will search maybe for a restaurant on YouTube?
Yeah.
I never thought about
mostly he's searching for information that, like, he loves WWE, so he'll search in Dean Ambrose. What's Dean Ambrose's real name? What's Dean Ambrose's parents? Like in YouTube. And I'm like, honey, you know, there's Google for that, right? But he'll do it all on YouTube.
I just wouldn't have thought about doing that with YouTube. I think YouTube
Mm-hmm.
is amazing, but I just wouldn't have used YouTube as a Google, basically.
Yeah, and
Search
that's
engine, yes, but not maybe those prompts or
yeah.
like a restaurant. Like I maybe a chef I would go to YouTube for, but that's
Yeah.
incredible. I never even thought about that. I guess it
Mm-hmm.
also depends on your niche or who your ICA is, but
Right. It's just
that's
interesting if he grows up and keeps that trend going.
mm,
You know, eventually, I think those kids who have grown up on YouTube are going to be looking more and more to YouTube for regular things like restaurants or, you know, how do I tie a bow tie or how do I find flowers for my wedding? You know, and if you're not there, then you're not the people that they go to.
wow. Well, I was not expecting that insight. That is amazing. So then maybe let's start with YouTube.
Sure, YouTube.
So that's definitely an idea. So what do you think people should take like not take away, but getting started on YouTube, or how should they maybe getting started? Maybe like if you're not thinking about going in that aspect,
Mhm.
what are your recommendations for like beginners to get started on YouTube?
Well, the cool thing is, unless your ICA is very, very high end, a lot of people will forgive terrible video quality as long as they can hear it. So, you know, if you're scared because you're like, I don't have $1,000 camera or I don't have great lighting or anything like that, people want to see real people. So they're fine with your camera phone. And again, as long as they can hear you. So if you're a small business owner and you're just like, hey guys, let me tell you why I'm Amy Smith. Let me tell you why you need a website. You know, that kind of stuff will really resonate with them. So just start with little tiny things that you know, little videos, and you will build an audience off of that.
That's awesome. So, and that's, I give a lot of the same advice too, is a lot of people are thinking they have to be perfect right off the bat, or they have to have all this expensive equipment, or they have to spend it, like really invest in, like, if, I do website development, really invest in website development. I'm like, no, sometimes it's better to just get started. It's
Mhm.
like, even if it's crappy, you can scale and invest at a higher rate later. And
Yeah.
then, like you said, not stopping, just be like, have like, start with consistency and then grow from there. So
If you
I think
take
that's true
Yeah,
with
if you
the
take any
video.
of the YouTubers that you think are really polished or lovely and amazing, and you go back in their history and you look at their very first video, they're terrible. They're consistently terrible videos. So
So that's
they had
everybody's
to start
first
somewhere.
homework. Go back and look at the first videos to make
Yes.
yourself feel better.
Yes. I mean, I love iJustine. She's a great YouTuber. She's been around forever. I mean, her first video was literally that she had gotten one of those. Remember when iPhones first came out and they had like these huge bills that were like this thick because people didn't know how to charge for data and all that stuff? That was her first video. Was like a rant about how big her iPhone bill was. And, you know, now she travels the world and just does tech stuff. So you got to start somewhere.
Yes. So moving a little off YouTube, where do you maybe recommend most people start then?
Really depends on your ICA, and this is something that I walk through. Spoke to a bunch of high schoolers that wanted to promote their tech team that they have on campus. So they'll come and if you come to them, they can fix your Chromebook because the whole school has Chromebooks. They'll fix your Chromebook and stuff like that. So I said, well, who's your audience? And they said, fellow students. I said, okay, well, you guys are your peers, so you know what platforms are you on? And their teacher had told me, you know, they have a Facebook and they have a Twitter. And I said, okay, I don't feel like that's where your ICA is. And they unequivocally said none of them had Facebook. I said, well, then you shouldn't probably be worried about Facebook. So the same thing, like Facebook is very much baby boomer and slightly younger. That's your big ICA was going to be in that age range of baby boomer and the generation after. Twitter is very left-brained. So if you are looking for, you know, engineers or even like media, because all of the reporters are supposed to be on it, if that's your ICA, then that's where they live. So you just kind of go through each of them. Instagram is very female, though it's changed a little bit, but it's highly female. A lot of moms. Um, So that's a good place to go if you are trying to reach that audience. So that's why a lot of photographers are there. Obviously, it's a great place for their photos to show up, but it's also the decision makers of, hey, where our family portraits are coming up, who am I going to get? The mom is on there scrolling through all the photographers, see which photos they like.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then Snapchat, I thought Snapchat was dead, but all these high schoolers are using it. So that's your ICA, then that's where you probably should be talking to them.
Yeah, I don't really use Snapchat, but I know people are still getting away with it. And I'm like, okay, that's fine.
Snapchat speaks to this younger generation. This younger generation does not like polished. They want things to feel real. So they want, if they love a celebrity, they want to see them in their real environment. They don't want to see them with the makeup and the, rehearsed stuff. They want really real photos of in the day, in the moment. So it's kind of cool. And I'm interested to see now that this generation is kind of going into college, if that'll keep going and they'll be like, kind of, I don't want polished and cool. I want to know Amy, and I want to know that, Amy's cool and I like her, and then I'm going to buy from her versus, that website or that photo was so beautiful. That must be a great place to have business.
I definitely get that. And I'm wondering if you're then thinking, maybe our ICA doesn't change as much. Mm-hmm. So if our ICA is usually in the mid-20s and we like that range, so therefore perhaps Snapchat is younger now, but it will start growing, and we'll have to start maybe thinking about that, like if as people age, because they do.
Well, it is funny because that's the life cycle of social media, right? So Facebook started off being college kids only, and it was very much a college kids thing for a very long time. But then, my mom and my grandma and everybody wanted to learn about it because they wanted to keep in touch with their family. They wanted to see pictures of the kids, they're far away from them. So now it's more and more becoming older and progressively older. So unless Facebook can do something, then they're trying desperately to find, and they've been buying apps and things like that to make the age group younger. But the truth of the matter is, when you're in high school, you don't want your mom and your grandma commenting on the stuff that you post. Even if you're a good kid, you're like, I don't want to explain to you, grandma, why I'm going to this concert. That's not a thing that I want to be doing right now. So all of these apps have gone from a specific age group to aging as, they're comfortable with it and they stay on it. And often the kids will be the first adopters, and then they'll flee as soon as their mom and grandmas jump on it.
I don't think I see a lot of moms and grandmas on Snapchat unless they're a celebrity.
There's some moms and grandmas. They're getting there because they want their teenager to teach them how to use it.
So, this is just me, but I encourage people. When we're talking about ICA, I'm like, if you're going to be using a platform, regardless of what you're using, if you have to have personal, I would separate personal and business, because you don't want everybody and their grandma liking your post, and then that translates to, oh, that must be their ICA and who we should target and all that stuff. So that's probably a consideration. I don't follow anybody, nobody on Facebook is my people or my personal people unless they have unless they're kind of my ICA, if that makes sense. What do you think about that?
I've been on the internet so long that I don't usually blur between personal and work. It's just this is what you get. You get tabs all the time.
Yeah.
But I do know that I have some clients who are very, very private people. And so for them, I'm like, if your kids' pictures need to be private or something like that, we need to obviously separate that out. For me, my son is 8. I don't refer to him by his full name on the internet. He's Z. That's it. So you have to figure out what's comfortable for you, how much of your life and personal life, unless you're a total crazy person who can't keep their mouth shut, can't be professional on your personal, then let's please keep it separate.
Yeah. I definitely see that. I think that goes all into being authentic regardless of where you are, because at the end of the day, it's the internet.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, it's kind of like parenting. Like, your parenting style is not the same as my parenting style, and that's fine. And so if your personal social media presence isn't the same as mine, that's fine too. You have to figure out what works for you the best. And sitting down and really thinking that through, I think, is more important than me saying, yes, keep them separate, or yes, do this, or yeah, no, no, do that. Just make sure you know what you're doing and that you're intentional about it. So one of the things I do is I do have filters. So I have a close friends filter on Facebook, and some of my stuff is just posted to the people that I know won't share it, won't spread it, won't whatever. So I can vent and be like, oh my gosh, I had a terrible day. My customers don't see that.
Yes, that is very important, because even though, and I don't know your thoughts on that, but that brings up a good point that I've been seeing more and more is, even if you are your most authentic self, at the end of the day, your customers don't need to see everything.
Right. Well, and it goes to the degrees of friendship, right? There's the close friends that should have your back, and if you say, I hate my husband, I hate my kids, and I hate my clients, that's fine. They won't spread that around. That won't affect you in any way if you talk to them. But if you are doing the same thing to another client, then they can be like, oh my gosh, what does she say about me when I'm not around? And it just puts thoughts in their heads, and you don't need that. You don't need everybody in the world to know all of your business.
Okay, so let's move back to the bigger picture before we dive more in, because this is such a great topic, and I think everybody needs some insights that you have with all this. So I guess maybe what's your favorite platform so far?
I am huge on Facebook, just because my ICA is usually older. My family all lives other places. It's a giant playground, and almost everybody is on it. So 3 billion people must not be wrong. And plus, I just love the amount of things you can do and learn in Facebook. So it's one of those platforms that kind of gives you places like groups where I can meet with like-minded people and talk about things and not have to do it on my personal page. Messenger and things like that. My husband and I were a long-distance relationship first, so Messenger was huge for us to talk on and off all day long, keep going on and on and on and on and on. So, it's nice.
I think it's like you said, it's really trying to integrate all these apps. I think it's trying to be a search engine or an all-in-one with all of its capabilities. And I think that in spite of the current issues with, what is it, hashtag delete Facebook or in the Cambridge.
Well, and it's funny too, because Cambridge happened a long time ago, right? So the timeline of Cambridge is when Facebook first started allowing apps to control your profile. So the same apps that like you can log into other websites using your Facebook and stuff, when they first started allowing those, one of those things was this quiz that Cambridge guy made. And the quiz allowed you to put personal information about other people into it. And then after that, Facebook was like, you know what, this is probably not a great idea. So they closed it off. This is like a long time ago. Well, the guy sold all of that information from his quiz to other parties. And that's how the data breach happened. But it was all stuff that we allowed ourselves to put in. So it's more like, well, we probably should just be better about what we put into the internet.
It's the internet. And then not to mention, I feel like that's like a privacy policy terms and conditions thing. It's not Facebook, it's the third party. And right. I especially know, on the website side of it, a lot of people forget that. Like if you're using an integration or a third party plugin, you are in some ways responsible if that third party has a breach, if you're not protecting yourself up front. So that's kind of the same thing. Of course, who's going to be damaged? It's going to be you or Facebook. But like you said, it's the third party. It's not Facebook. You put that information in. But
well, and the other problem was, this is a problem that people don't realize is, you already give away a lot of your personal information. If you sign up for a grocery rewards card, they track all that information to the point where Target can target you with coupons and go, you know what, Amy, I bet I bet you're about to have a baby based on what you've been buying. And you're like, oh my gosh, that's really invasive. That's really Big Brother. But you opted in. So Big Brother came because we all opted in for the freebies and the discounts.
I mean, and if you think about it from a business and brand point of view, that's gold. That's what we want to
Mm-hmm.
know. If we are, if we make stuff for babies, I mean, which Target does, like you
Right.
said, I mean, we want to start amping up the baby stuff. And of course, Facebook does that. Google does that.
Yeah,
My sister,
when I got engaged, my Facebook turned into wedding, 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 wedding. Like
yep,
every ad was weddings. And it was really funny too because when I started my business, when I announced it 2 weeks ago, all of my things are now software's for small business, software for small business. I'm like,
really?
Facebook knows. Mm-hmm.
That's so funny. I was gonna say it's not even obviously just Facebook. Google is probably the originator. You might know
Yes.
something different,
Mm-hmm.
but probably. My sister and brother-in-law, all have Google Homes, and their Google Home, they asked a question on their Google Home,
Mm-hmm.
and 2 days later, it was an ad on their email account.
Yep.
And I was like, so we're doing it everywhere. You just really just need to be completely off the grid.
Get a cabin off the grid.
Yes. No
Never talk to
phone.
anybody again. Don't use any phones.
Yes. Back old times, like
Mm-hmm.
horse and buggy.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's okay. So Facebook, I love Facebook. I think it really has a lot of advantage. I'm sure this is on Facebook Live right now, and then. So, what about other platforms? What other platforms do you tend to prefer working with?
I'm really enjoying LinkedIn. It's become more of what Twitter was at the beginning, very community based, very comment on your thing and I'll comment on my thing, and like very, that kind of discussion going on. Um, it's really fun. I've been finding a lot more connections and people to follow and interesting things to learn and things like that. So
What
that's
typical demographics do you see on LinkedIn? I mean, I usually
it's
associate it more with the professionals, the entrepreneurs, but do you see anything else?
it's becoming very young, which I thought was very interesting. So it's a lot of college want to be professionals, like they're looking for information and how to be a voice, um, how to be an influencer, those kind of things. So it's really interesting. It's kind of an intersection, I think, between professional and YouTubers, because there's a lot of people there that are very much of the content creator kind of places, which is a fun place to experiment because there's less of noise there than YouTube.
That makes sense.
Mhm.
I also noticed that they recently, I don't know if acquired is the right word, but they've took on Linda and
Mhm.
so it's no longer lynda.com, which is I used to use that, but they acquired that under LinkedIn Learning. So it seems like they're really wanting to be like an all-in-one resource for like the education, like you said, the
Yeah.
people that are wanting to learn various things better. So think that's a very interesting step forward.
Yeah.
Probably especially competing with YouTube where free and
Yeah, and video is huge there right now. So it's very telling to see if that will work in. Right now, you can sign up to be an expert in something. So if somebody's looking for information, um, I can be the expert in social media and speak Linda about that. So it's a fun platform. There's a lot of, like you said, entrepreneurs. There's a lot of coaches. Um, there's a lot of recruiters who are teaching you how to find the right job and how to use LinkedIn and how to do those kind of things. So it's fascinating to me. But I think their algorithm is very much based on comments and likes. So it's interesting to see how that all works and how people find each other and connect with each other. And then there's a lot of collaboration that's happening as they find each other. And
I feel like it's kind of like Facebook but maybe I don't know what the right word is. I want to say maybe higher caliber or
yeah, and the people there are usually very serious about their professional, and I think the discoverability thing is a bigger thing there. Like I connected with somebody that's big in the Baltimore scene, and then she had kept giving comments from this one guy that does job recruitment and help and like how to do your resume and stuff like that. And I just liked his answer so much, and I was like, oh, you know what, I'm going to follow him, and now he's going to be on my Facebook Live tomorrow, and those kind of things keep happening versus where Facebook, I think you're right. It's more casual. So it's like my friends and my family.
Which I think a lot of people love that,
Mm-hmm.
especially the personal, but you're not really going to put like your personal stuff on LinkedIn. Like you're not going to like show your kids or your pets, or are people doing that?
People are doing that to some degree. It's like, it's more of like the same thing as we probably would tell people on their business page. Like, you be real, be relatable. Here's my kids. Sometimes I need to stop a phone call and talk, fix my kids' homework or something like that. Um, but it's not as casual.
Okay. Which is probably very advantageous to certain niches like the coaches or
Mm-hmm.
consultants or um, probably not mom bloggers, but I see a lot of bloggers on there. I mean, maybe they're interacting with each other, but I don't know about.
Yeah, I think it's more of for mom bloggers, it's more of the, how did I do XYZ, right? Like, how did I become famous on Facebook, or how did I do this, or helping. I think it's that kind of mutual help of each other. Like,
Okay.
what do you do with the troll when you get trolls and things like that?
Okay. So again, more of that like learning environment.
Mm-hmm.
I am geeky over. I always love learning a new thing, which is sometimes a bad thing when you're like, okay, you just gotta stick to like rein it in.
Right. I have to do actual work. Come on.
All right. Okay, so LinkedIn, do you still do a lot of Twitter?
No.
No. Why
For
not?
my clients, I do. I am not a super left brain person,
Hmm.
so that is not a big thing for me. Plus, Twitter requires a lot of time to really build and make it perfect. Twitter requires a lot of attention and a lot of helping other people, which I like doing, but it goes so fast that if I'm not there multiple times through the day, with Facebook or LinkedIn, I can come in the morning, do 15, 20 minutes, be done, and I still receive results from it later on tomorrow when
That
I come
makes
in.
sense.
But Twitter, you need to be really active and really there and really present to get the most out of it. Because on Twitter, the worst thing you can do is just try to broadcast and broadcast and broadcast and not actually reply or help other people or get into a conversation.
Yeah, I loved Twitter a lot. I have offloaded that task onto a social media manager, and she does a great job. And we were recently reevaluating if Twitter is still good, but for my brand, like I'm still getting a lot of hits from Twitter. So I
That's great.
know, and I reinforce that with people that are like, oh, Twitter's dead. I'm like, no, but like you said,
Mm-hmm.
it requires a lot of work, and I still pop in every once in a while. She
Mm-hmm.
gives me a heads up. She's like, you need to respond to this, but like I said, like she's like the dedicated, and I
Right.
still get a lot of results from that. So my husband, on the other hand, I don't know why he even signed up for Twitter. And he doesn't get anything from it. And then I know like some people but like you said, like that's a really good point. The left brained or like Sir said, certain niches,
Mm-hmm.
it still works really good on, but I don't
Yeah.
think
For
there's
some of my
dead.
clients in certain niches, there's still very powerful things to be had. So I was working with a finance credit consulting nonprofit client, and Twitter chats for them were hugely successful because they would go on as an expert and Twitter chat around the subject, whatever it was, and they were great. And I was like, this is so 2008, but it works really well for them. Same with like travel. Like, a lot of travel bloggers have a weekly chat, and it's a great place for them to find resources and talk to hotels and places that they would like to go and travel and be. And it's like a huge resource for them on Twitter. So I think if you can find the socialness of Twitter, it
Mhm.
is a huge platform for you. If you can't, then, move on.
And yeah, that's the other thing is sometimes it's trial and error.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so Instagram.
Instagram. Instagram is great, especially stories. Stories are huge right now. And
Mhm.
Instagram, though, it's changed so much that a lot of people are frustrated. So it's a great time actually to jump into it because you don't know all the things that used to work on Instagram. You can just, figure out what works for you. I am actually really excited about using Instagram as a selling platform for some of my clients with Shopify because you can sell right there in Instagram. So they are targeting, like I said, they're targeting primarily females. So to say, hey, here's a necklace, you can buy it right now, just click and buy, I think is great. If you can do the visuals for Instagram, you will be killing it in minutes because people love pretty pictures.
So do you also, it sounds like you also do the graphics for your clients.
Mm-hmm.
Any recommendations overall while we're on graphics on, because I don't know if I'm giving the right advice, but I always say like it's predominantly visual,
Mm-hmm.
even Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you maybe see being the most effective or more effective of graphics or pictures?
So in the moment photos are great, especially one of the things I always tell my clients is you're a rock star and you need to treat yourself like a brand, like a rock star. So people like seeing, there's like a voyeur fun thing about seeing what other people do in their work.
Like voyeur.
Yes. But I would love to see a really fun Instagram of like construction workers. Like, this is my day as a construction worker. Same thing with like, I told this to Joe's Jeans and they didn't believe me. I'm like, but it's so cool. Like, you guys make jeans. Like, that's awesome. Like, I would love to see how you
There's
work.
a lot of us that are like super curious. We don't have to be nerdy. It's just the curiosity.
Yeah. And so to see the work that goes into it, 2018 has really brought to light this idea that people no longer want to buy a brand. They want to buy a person.
Mm-hmm.
So Neiman Marcus is really encouraging their sales ladies to become big on Facebook versus the store. So I don't go to Neiman Marcus anymore. I go to Amy Smith, who knows how to dress me because she works at Neiman Marcus is irrelevant. I like Amy, who works at Neiman Marcus, versus I like Neiman Marcus. Yeah.
So they're almost encouraging people to make a brand around themselves. Huh. I mean, I like that strategy. I just never thought about it for something like Neiman Marcus or like a company like that.
Yeah, and it's almost like actually going back to the 1800s model of shopping. I'm going for an experience. If I'm going into a retail store, I'm going for an experience. And I can get all the stuff that you're talking about online, but if I like Amy, who's helping me, then I will go to the store itself versus buying online.
I like that.
Yeah. So the same thing with, that's why influencer marketing is so huge.
Mm-hmm.
And it works or doesn't work. I have mixed feelings about spending a lot of money on influencer marketing. But the influencers that actually are very influential, it works very well because I have bought into, my son has bought into Dan TDM. If Dan TDM says, go get this thing, he will go get that thing.
My husband has a few of those.
Yeah, exactly. And, love them or hate them, the Kardashians are the same way. Like, if the Kardashians hold up a cup, thousands of them are sold the next day.
It's kind of like, what is it? Like, is that the Duchess effect thing with Kate Middleton or
Yep.
clothes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because they bought into that person first, and
Mm-hmm.
now they're emulating that. So the same thing, like, you can be, for your business, you can be that person. So if they see you, like, here's my new, this works for people who are even sitting at the computer all day. Here's my new program. I'm so excited to use it. Here's why. This is what it solved in my life. And people are like, that's really interesting. Like, I didn't know that web designers had to think about, accounting of programs or something like that. That's where I say start with. So pictures of your day-to-day life might seem very mundane to you, but people on the internet love them.
This is really funny and my husband's going to hate me, but I'm always telling him, like, do the behind the scenes, do the story. People like the story. And he's like, not my people. I'm like, anybody does. Like,
Yeah.
maybe it's not everything, but okay, so on Instagram, maybe it's not your pictures, but it's just Instagram stories or something. I'm like, people love the story.
Yeah.
So I think that's great reminder. And so you say you have a love-hate on influencer marketing. What would be, I don't know, what does your love-hate look like?
So my love hate is, I lived in LA, so I knew a lot of these people for reals. And the people that do it well spend hours and hours and hours on making a photo for your brand. And making it beautiful and making it fit their brand and fit your brand. And like that stuff is amazing. You should obviously spend money on that. But there's a lot of people that just kind of half work it and think that they should be paid thousands of dollars. And they, I did this for a couple of big brands, and I've seen it with when I worked with Fox. There was no influence, there was no drive, there was no clicks, there was no buys, there was no, and these people were charging so much money. It's like, well, no, actually, you don't have influence. You just have a big number of people that follow you, but they don't actually do anything that you say.
So how should people maybe take that consideration if you're trying to build a brand versus just selling products? If you're trying to sell yourself, or like I know some people who are trying to become an influencer and trying to get sponsored or whatever. So what advice would you, like, obviously more basic advice, would you maybe give to those people?
Well, first, let's talk about like if you are a business, a small business that's looking to do some influencer marketing. A good thing to look at is look through their past branded things and see if you see any responses that are like, oh my gosh, I went out and bought this. Or, oh my gosh, Amy, look at this thing that you told me to buy. Here's the picture. And it doesn't have to be a lot, but if there's one or two, then you know exactly that they have some influence, because it's like a 2% people will come back and tell you that they actually bought the thing. So, if there's one, then there must have been like 4 or 5. And for a small business, that's huge. If I could get 5 more sales, great. I've done that. For people that want to be influencers, focus a lot on your craft of how you make the photos, of how you present these brands, and also work on your audience. Like you should be cultivating a fan base. And a good way to do that is to respond to them, to make them feel special, to do this stuff. If you create that fan base relationship with the people that are following you, then you will get those people that will actually buy, because they're like, oh my gosh, Amy made me feel so special.
So building an authentic relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you
And
feel
a
like
lot of
it's
times
easier
people
to
try to
do on certain platforms than others?
say that again. I'm sorry.
Sorry. Do you feel like that's easier to do on certain platforms than others?
Um, no, I feel like it just has to become a way that you respond to people. Thankfully, all the platforms make it easy to respond to people. So I worked with a YouTuber named Felicia Day, and she is amazing at this. And she would go through and like people would say, it's my birthday. And she'd be like, oh my gosh, happy birthday. Like, she'd take that time to actually respond to people. And obviously it takes a lot of time, and especially she hit 1 million followers. It takes a long, long time. But, that personal touch is what keeps your fan base, and grow that before you start trying to get brands to spend money on you.
That makes sense.
Because once you have a big fan base, like even if the brands don't come to you, your fans will rally around you and do stuff for you and help you. And that ultimately is more important to me than, L'Oreal gave you $5,000.
Definitely. I feel like I had a thought on that, and hopefully I'll come back to it. So we've talked a little bit about Instagram, YouTube, because we've talked about Snapchat. What about like Pinterest or Reddit or any of those?
Reddit is great for a certain audience, right? So they are the smarmy, smart people of the internet. And the problem I see most people with Reddit is that they come in trying to be the smarmy, smart people, and the Reddit people know that you're not one of them yet. But the folks on Reddit, if you can build really honest, authentic relationships with them, they will be your biggest allies and your biggest source of anything that you need, because they have the connections and they are the smart people of the internet. So if you enter into those worlds, again, do it based on your passions and your things that you love, then yeah, Reddit is a great place to be, because they are an infinite resource of stuff and things, and help, really. It's a really good community for help. Like, why is my VCR now blinking 25 and the DVD-R recorder isn't working? Like stuff like that that's so obscure that nobody remembers anymore. The folks on Reddit know. They can point you to that place.
Yeah, my husband's on Reddit a lot.
Yeah.
I'm not on it, but I hear great things about it. So,
Mm-hmm.
but
And
you're
even if
saying focus on your maybe expertise and then surround yourself with that. That makes
right. And don't come on as an expert. Come on as a, hey, I love this thing too. How can I plug into this group?
that makes
Because
sense.
again, they are also the smarmiest people on the internet and will roast you to death if you are in any way not the expert that you think you are.
I know. I've heard some sort. I mean, I have a thick skin mostly, so I'm
Yeah,
like, and I'm not the type of person to go in like being, "Hey, look at me." But at
right.
the same time, I'm like, I don't know.
And
People are
Reddit's,
just. I like the atmosphere on like Facebook
yeah.
and
Some of the things I love about Reddit, Reddit does gift exchanges, which are really fun. So you can sign up if you like corgis. They have a corgi gift exchange, and you'll be paired randomly with an internet person, and you send each other corgi stuff. It's fun stuff like that. The Reddit community does a lot of cool things. Yeah.
that is really fun. Okay, so
Hmm.
what about Pinterest? Which I know isn't
Pinterest,
technically a social platform, but a lot
it
of people
is.
still consider it.
Hmm. The social aspect is lacking because the messaging part of it is hard, right? And like, Pinterest
That's
is
true.
great. Pinterest is great for long SEO kind of things. So if you
Mm.
can create great content and information, eventually, after a while, it will rise to the top. But my problem has always been with clients is they want it to get them tons of clicks now. It's like, no, it's gonna sit there for a little while until somebody discovers it. But if you're in the mommy blogger world, if you're in any interior design or wedding planning, or I know how to make crafty things, that is your jam. Like making great tutorials and links and stuff like that on Pinterest will get you a lot of traffic to your website. That's the nice thing about Pinterest. All the other social media places will kind of frown on traffic outside of their places, and Pinterest is like, yes, please send people away from us.
Yes, that's true. I definitely consider it more like a search engine
Hmm.
myself. Are your thoughts on messenger marketing?
It's really fascinating to me, and I am really, really excited about places that I don't like talking to normal human beings most of the time. So any place that has like let me get more information that is not on your website and I don't have to dig for it, or do you actually have a black dress in this size? Like if I could talk to a bot about that, that makes me super happy. So I love that.
I think it's going to be really awesome. I think we're maybe still working out the kinks of
Hmm.
how it could really be used to each brand's um, uniqueness, I guess.
Yeah. No, but like best friend Kim, she like messaged oh, I can't even think one of the nonprofits, and they have been message marketing her now, and she's like, I just want you
Um,
to stop.
yeah,
Like I can mute it, but it's still there, and that's kind of annoying.
that is true. I don't even know what would be the steps. Like, do you unfollow or unfriend them or unlike them, or I don't
Yeah,
even
I
know
have
what
to
to
look
do.
at it for her because she was asking me if there's a way to delete it, and I'm like, I don't know.
I know you can say stop,
Yeah, you can say stop, and you can mute the messenger, but it's
so it pops up.
still in her messages.
Yeah,
I don't know if you can actually delete it.
who knows? But that's something I didn't consider. And again, that's probably it's kind of on the newer side.
Hmm.
Um, and I think a lot of people might have a sour taste because they automatically assume with bots like the Instagram bots that are annoying or whatever.
Right. Yeah, robots have sadly a bad rap when it comes to marketing.
Yeah. So, what trends do you kind of see on our horizon in 2018 or 2019?
We talked a lot about the personalization. The more you can personalize your business, and I told this to somebody, I'm like, it shouldn't be Joe's limo service. It should be Joe, and he works at this limo service, like that kind of thing. There's more you can do about that. Because really, I think people are longing for connection, and they're really longing to do something great in the world. And so if they can say, oh, hey, I'm helping support a small business, or I'm supporting a local business, or even like I'm supporting Tim and his kids are just going off to college, they want that connection to where their money is going. The other thing is local is becoming huge. So one of the things I was going to say is a lot of small businesses don't need to be on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, but they should be on their Nextdoor or any of the Facebook groups for their neighborhood, because I know our local sweet shop, they go in there and they talk to people and they're like, oh, by the way, we just experimented with pumpkin loaf, so we have some, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we have to go to the I'm like, that works, because I feel like it's the people in my neighborhood versus the sweet shop.
I was speaking with someone earlier about that, about how, I've made recommendations on Nextdoor on, like, for instance, a pulmonologist. I was like, this pulmonologist is amazing. And I've done it on Nextdoor. I think I did it on Google. I mean, I went out of the way to be like, this pulmonologist.
Yeah.
Another thing. And he was saying he had never heard of it, but he owns a local gym. So when people were telling him about Nextdoor and they were recommending him, now he's like on it. I'm like, I think, I definitely think, again, Nextdoor is probably another community type atmosphere, and that's great for social proof.
Well, and there's a huge community,
and all these things.
With Nextdoor, the cool thing is there's a huge push by Nextdoor to get everyone in your neighborhood signed up. So you don't have to find your ICA if it's local people. They are there.
Nextdoor is doing it for you.
Yes, exactly.
That's a great reminder that you sometimes forget that, like, I don't know, what is it called? Foursquare or Yelp or Urban Spoon. These can all be kind of social media marketing tactics, depending on what you're doing.
Yeah. TripAdvisor surprisingly sent a lot of business to one of the restaurants that was my client. Like, I was like, TripAdvisor, really? But no, but people would, if they were traveling to Baltimore, they would look on, like, if they were in that baby boomer, they really looked on those things to see reviews and stuff. And more than one of them had said, well, you guys responded to people on there, so we thought that was a great business. I'm like, okay, thanks.
So responding, more than just being there, but again, responding. That seems to be the key in all of the algorithms, is how much you're engaging back.
Awesome.
Do you have any resources where people, like, do you yourself have a resource where people can learn more? Or
so I have a Facebook group, and it is social media help for small businesses. And if you go to my Facebook, it is in the header image.
I'll link to that as well.
That's a place for you to go and ask questions, and then I try to drop in tips. So last week I talked to a Facebook ad rep. So I dropped in some of her tips that she gave me, anything that I learned that's new, that I think would be helpful for small business owners, especially, to know.
That's amazing. So all of you, that's really all of you who's listening. It sounds like there's so many different platforms. If you need to know, like, I assume that means if there's a new algorithm and everybody's freaking out, you can go to Tabitha and she'll share like, okay, here's like the legit things.
Right.
Don't just freak out over hype.
Yeah, it was really funny too, because there was like this huge freak out over one of the Instagram algorithm changes and the whole putting hashtags in the comments or versus the thing. And a group of social managers and I were going through it, and they were like, so we can't find any data to back this up. We just found one blog post that apparently made this huge craziness, and we haven't seen our analytics change any, so I don't think it's true.
So that's great too. I love that you're like collaborating together, because sometimes it probably takes a while to figure out the source of the freaking out.
Yes, many times.
There you go. So I guess while you're on it, so you're saying you don't think it's true that comments need to be, if it matters, if it's in the comments or in the caption?
No.
There you go. That's probably like the number one thing is, where should I put my hashtags? I myself put it in the comments just because I don't, like, I feel like the caption is like personal, and I just like removing that when people read more, but that's just me. So you're saying it, but it doesn't really matter. So that's good. There you go. That cleared up that like FAQ on Instagram.
For analytics, it does not matter. For cleanness and whatever, just do whatever you want to do.
This is really what matters, is the analytics. That's what we care about. Because at the end of the day, unless we don't have a business, everything we do is about the analytics and the numbers.
Well, you only have so many hours in the day. So like I was telling the teenagers, do you really want to spend hours on Facebook when you're not going to reach the person that you need to anyway?
Yeah,
Probably not.
that's true. Waste of time. I mean, it's constant evaluation. Like I said, I recently evaluated if Twitter was still for my brand, and it's, like the numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
Instagram isn't, for me as a business, but me as a person it is. So,
Right.
so
Well,
yeah.
and one of the things I have told people is always reserve your names on these new platforms. And if you need to, just make one post that says, "Hey, I'm not really here. Go see me at my website or Facebook." That to me is more powerful than trying to be on 12 different platforms.
I
It's never
actually recently did that. I recently was like, I don't have a business page,
mm-hmm.
but I'm sick of saying self-employed on Facebook, so I created a business page and was basically like, I'm not really here.
mm-hmm.
This is where you can find me. So I
Yeah.
recently did that, but that's a good tip. Like, if there's a new platform, you don't know if it's for you yet, log on, get the username, and then figure it out later.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's great, especially with someone like me, Amy Smith. There's so many of us. I never
Well, I
get
used
it.
to be Tabitha Smith, so I understand.
Oh yeah, that's true. Never get it. Okay, well, thank you again. I will link
Yes.
to your group and anything else that you want to link to in the
Cool.
show notes and the comments. If anybody has any questions for Tabitha, you'll know where to go. And thank you
Yay.
again for tuning in.
Yeah.
Okay, have a good day.
Bye.